Only moments ago, former President Donald Trump wrapped up his speech from Mar-a-Lago. Now, the president pointed out a history, all the unfairness, unprecedented, frankly, that he has faced since coming down that escalator at Trump Tower. Now, no one man has ever been subjected to anything like this in the history of this country. The media colluded, along with the Democrats, to destroy him from day one. The president laid out what he did successfully as president. It was a powerful case. And he also laid out that this is a nation in decline, and 5 presidents combined could not mess the country up more than Joe Biden. He also talked about investigations that never, ever seem to go away. The entire time since he came down that escalator. Never stops. Take a look.
And I never thought anything like this could happen in America. Never thought it could happen. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. And now this massive election interference at a scale never seen before in our country, beginning with the radical left, George Soros-backed prosecutor Alvin Bragg of New York, who campaigned on the fact that he would get President Trump. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. This is a guy campaigning. He wanted to get President Trump at any cost, and this before he knew anything about me, didn't know a thing about me. He was campaigning. As it turns out, virtually everybody that has looked at this case, including rhinos and even hardcore Democrats, say there is no crime and that it should never have been brought. Never have been brought. Everybody.
All right, let us be very clear here. Today, Alvin Bragg charged Donald Trump with 34 felony counts of falsifying documents surrounding legal NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, from 2016. Now, per New York State Code, these are usually misdemeanor crimes. 5 years past the statute of limitations. But through a novel legal theory never before tried, Alvin Bragg is now attempting to elevate the expired misdemeanors to felonies to try and prove intent to commit yet another crime, an election crime. It's believed to be a federal election crime that likely is also past the statute of limitations, and by the way, outside of his purview. And that basically the FEC and the DOJ, they both decided there was no crime. They never indicted the president. We had the former head of the FEC on this very program saying, no, that's not a crime. And here's the kicker. Alvin Bragg won't even specify what those other crimes are in the indictment. Now, why on earth wouldn't the DA need to have to prove these other phantom crimes, or at least identify what they are? This sounds insane. This sounds crazy. It sounds like a banana republic. But they are bogus charges, and yes, another witch hunt. And to make matters worse, the bulk of Bragg's charges, they depend on testimony from that guy, who is an ex-con, convicted liar, or admitted liar, and felon, Michael Cohen. And here's Cohen's former legal advisor, Bob Costello. Now, he's not a convict. He's not an admitted liar. And guess what? I think he's going to be a powerful counter to the Alvin Bragg star witness. That would be Michael Cohen. You decide.
What do you have on Donald Trump? And that's when he started with the same litany that he used for the rest of the 2 hours. I swear to God, Bob, I don't have anything on Donald Trump. But the point is, when somebody is really thinking of committing suicide and you're offering them a legal way out of this, if he had any information about Donald Trump, that would have been the one time, even for a serial liar like Michael Cohen, to fess up and say, well, I know this or that, because I want to save my own hide. But he didn't do that. Michael Cohen, who, as I said before, was pacing back and forth, would suddenly stop in the middle of whatever he was talking about and turn and point his finger at us and say, I want you guys to understand, I will do whatever the F I have to do. I will never spend a day in jail. He said that at least 10 to 20 times during that 2-hour period. It was a bizarre mantra, but it made it clear to us that Michael Cohen was saying, I will lie, cheat, steal, shoot someone. I will never spend a day in jail.
All right. Pay attention to what he said here. He said, do you have anything on Michael Cohen? If you want to prevent yourself from going to jail, I have nothing, Bob. I have nothing at all, but I'm never going to jail. He said he's suicidal, and I'll do whatever it takes to not go to jail. Now, not only did Costello destroy the credibility of the state star witness, Michael Cohen, but Cohen himself completely contradicted the state's case. Look at this statement. This is 2018. Now, this indictment talks about payments in 2017. I'll ask Joe Tacopina and Mark Levin about it in a minute. Quote, in a private transaction in 2016, I used my own personal funds to facilitate a payment of $130,000 to Miss Stephanie Clifford, a.k.a. Stormy Daniels. Neither the Trump Organization nor the Trump campaign was a party to the transaction. The payment to Miss Clifford was lawful and was not a campaign contribution or a campaign expenditure by anyone. Now, Cohen's attorney echoed those very same remarks in a letter to the FEC. February of 2018, keep that date in your mind. In a private transaction in 2016, before the U.S. presidential election, Mr. Cohen used his own personal funds to facilitate a payment of $130,000 to Ms. Stephanie Clifford. Neither the Trump Organization nor the Trump campaign was a party to the transaction with Ms. Clifford. And notice the date, again, 2018, February. Alvin Bragg refers to payments from 2017. Now, again, this is a pathetically weak case based on an ex-con and admitted liar, and everyone knows it, maybe except Alvin Bragg. But, of course, a grand jury, they can indict a ham sandwich, and Alvin Bragg is not so good at getting convictions. In fact, he has one of the lowest conviction rates in the entire country, hovering at an embarrassing 50%. Now, that's for felony cases that he actually tries. However, 52% of all felonies, they are downgraded to misdemeanors under Bragg. Donald Trump gets the distinction of being the only person that he's accusing of a misdemeanor that they're raising it to 34 felonies. Now, mysteriously, it went the other way with President Trump, and the former president's charges were upgraded, then multiplied through what is a risky and very complicated legal maneuver. I don't believe they will be successful, but, however, there are so many legal issues out there, it makes you wonder, does this ever stop? Remember, while violent offenders are walking all over the streets of New York, misdemeanors that Trump, can serve 134 years, according to one report, in prison for allegedly mislabeling a few documents. According to Alvin Bragg, this is more than warranted because document crimes are so important. This is what he said today.
True and accurate business records are important everywhere, to be sure. They are all the more important in Manhattan, the financial center of the world. That is why we have a history in the Manhattan DA's office of vigorously enforcing white-collar crime.
Now, sure, Alvin Bragg lets rapists, drug dealers, armed robbers out of jail with a slap on the wrist, no bail. But those victimless document crimes, now that's real serious stuff. Why lie, Alvin? Why don't you just be honest about your intentions? We all know what's happening here. Bragg is just fulfilling his own campaign promise to go after one man, that's former President Trump, one organization, the Trump Organization, one family, the Trump family. On the campaign trail, he boasted about suing Trump more than 100 times, patted himself on the back for investigating Trump, Trump's children. He ran as the self-proclaimed Trump expert. Now, obviously, the focus of his campaign was not making New York a safer place. It was getting Donald Trump. Watch.
I know a lot of people are wondering, whoever has this job, are they going to convict Donald Trump?
Look, that is the number one issue.
The Times calls Bragg a talented prosecutor whose successful suit of the Trump Foundation could be invaluable experience for the investigation he'll take over.
As the Chief Deputy Attorney General in New York State, I oversaw some of the office's biggest cases. From exposing illegal behavior by the Trump Foundation, we know there's a Trump investigation. I have investigated Trump and his children and held them accountable for their misconduct with the Trump Foundation. I also sued the Trump administration more than 100 times. We know that the DA is investigating Trump. When I was at the AG's office, I sued Trump over 100 times for his administration's misconduct and brought a case against the Trump Foundation and held him accountable.
Well, we have, let's see, a DA doing this, an attorney general doing this in the state of New York, going after one person, one family, one organization. Now, in a fair jurisdiction, this case, that would be thrown out because of what is called prosecutorial misconduct. But this is New York City, Manhattan, where 90% of voters, they just hate Donald Trump. You think you can get a fair trial in New York City? But don't expect the judge to change the venue. This particular judge, well, likely hates Donald Trump like everyone else in New York. He was already very heavy-handed with the former CFO of the Trump organization, who is now in Rikers Island over, minor tax violations. In other words, this won't be a fair trial. And sadly, this is probably just the beginning. This is going to be a long tsunami of looming charges against Trump right in the middle of far-left jurisdictions across the country. Now, if you're a conservative, the three places you probably don't want to be involved legally: New York City, Washington, D.C., and Fulton County, Georgia. Guess what three jurisdictions Donald Trump will be dealing with. And by the way, also add to that a frivolous civil suit from a woman named E. Jean Carroll, alleging some type of sexual assault from the 1990s. According to USA Today, she doesn't remember the exact year, but she's claiming that she was a victim of a sexual assault in a changing room at a huge department store somewhere around 27 years ago, but she doesn't quite remember. In coordination with activist judges, prosecutors, Democrats, I think the president is right. This is their attempt to distract completely one candidate from the 2024 election. Is that interference? You decide. By using the courts as a political weapon? That's certainly novel. Now, in doing so, they're literally turning the country into a banana republic, where Hunter Biden can purportedly take money and make deals with China and Russia and Ukraine. How much money did the Biden family make with Russia? How much were these business deals with China? How much money did Hunter actually make in Ukraine? And what about the dozen countries that James Comer has been talking about? And out of the business deals they made, how much money did they themselves take? Did they pay taxes on all of that money? Did they always cut out 10% for the big guy? Or, as Hunter complained on his laptop, he pays half his income to Pops. Has anyone faced consequences? Your FBI has had that laptop from hell since December of 2019. Does that sound like equal justice and application of our laws in America? A country where, Jim Comey, as an FBI director, can take a FISA application where it says on the very top, verified, sign his name to it, and not only was the information not verified, it was unverifiable, and he signed it 3 separate times. Wouldn't that be committing fraud against a court, lying to a judge? It ended up and resulted in spying on an American presidential candidate and president. No consequences at all whatsoever. We live in a country now where Hillary Clinton can mishandle top secret classified information, then wipe the evidence clean with something called bleach bit, something none of us had heard of up to that point, and never see the inside of a courtroom. No reasonable prosecutor would ever prosecute, according to Comey. But Comey, of course, now exposed himself. Oh, today's a good day, the day that Donald Trump got indicted. If you are a Republican, a conservative, or if your last name is Trump and you so much as spit on the sidewalk or jaywalk, you better brace yourself, because the strong arm of the law is coming for you. And it's sad to say, but there's not justice in America tonight as it should be. We don't have equal justice. We don't have equal application of our laws. And guess what? When you don't have both, you might as well take your Constitution and shred it, because every law is based on that one important document. Now, of course, when you have a fair trial with a jury of your peers, or are you going to have to go into a venue where 9 out of 10 people don't like your political leanings? You know what? Do you believe in free speech? Do you believe in free and fair elections? Anyway, as we speak, Democrats are now spitting on our Constitution for cheap political gain. And mark my words, if they get away with it, this great country that we love, that so many people fought, bled, and died for as the great America Republic, will never be the same again.